Okay, so hi, good evenings. So here we are for the analysis of first Endeavor Open Mock MHCET for the MMS course, right? So let's just start around, right? So the so if we move on, right? First, let us talk about the exam pattern, right? So looking at the exam pattern, we had 50 questions in verbal ability and reading comprehension. There were 75 questions in logical reasoning, 25 questions in abstract reasoning, right? Quant and DI have a total of 50 questions, right? So that makes a paper of 200 questions. Time limit is 150 minutes. You get +1 for every correct answer, and there are no negative markings for this paper, right? So now moving ahead, let us first look at the VARC section of this particular EOM, right? So this particular paper had 15 questions of reading comprehensions, right? And 35 questions were based on verbal ability, right? So that pretty much made up the VARC section. So now let's first discuss about the reading comprehensions, right? So there were two passages, right? RC, the first passage was about failed generation and India, right? The length was 825 words. That was, it was a lengthy passage, and there were 5 questions. But then the brilliant thing about this passage was out of 5 questions, or rather, I would say all the 5 questions were direct, right? So if you if you are an endeavor student, तो आपने RC के lecture पे you would have studied approaches to solving reading comprehension, right? So which are those quick ways or quick tricks through which you can answer the passages, right? So जो आपने पढ़ा है उसमें से if you can use approach 2 and approach 3, so this passage would take hardly 5 minutes and 5 easy questions up for grabs, right? Then, if we move to the second passage was about economy. Not so lengthy, you would say moderate length. Again, 5 questions. But then, all the questions over here were indirect or inferential. So you had a primary purpose or main idea questions. You had 3 inference-based questions. You had one specific detail question, right? So basically, you would have had to read this passage entirely, which would have been time consuming, right? So you would have been pretty well off if you left the passage. अगर ये passage छोड़ देते तो पेपर के एंड में जो easy questions थे वो आराम से attempt हो पाते, right? Then the third passage was about abstract art. So when you read the topic abstract art, तो सबसे पहले you get a feeling यार कि this is an abstract passage, length भी ज्यादा है. But then when you look at the questions, right, you realize कि 5 में से 4 questions are easy in the sense कि भाई you don't even need to read the entire passage. Just read the question and get the answer फटाफट, right? So that was all about reading comprehensions. Out of 3 passages, 2 passages could have been attempted within the span of around 10 to 15 minutes, right? Then talking about verbal ability, so we are talking. Let's first talk about the grammar questions. So in grammar, there were 2 types of questions. One was fill in the blanks, wherein you had to choose the correct phrase or preposition. And another was replace the underlined part, right? So in the fill in the blanks section, right, the 3 questions were pretty easy. Out of the 2 moderate questions, one could have been easily attempted, right? So grammar के 5 में से यार 4 question तो होने ही चाहिए थे. When you look at the replace the underlined part, again, this looked threatening at the beginning, but then you look at the options, right? Then you look at the options, यार 5 में से 4 options ऐसे ही eliminate हो जा रहे हैं इसमें. So this was kind of not worth leaving यार. हिम्मत करके कर लेना चाहिए था इसको attempt. So again, 4 attempts over here. Then verbal ability, if we talk about questions that were based on vocabulary. So vocabulary में you had direct synonym questions, right? जहाँ पे what you had is you were given a single word, and then uh, there were three words out of which you had to choose the synonym of the given word, right? So this part was a bit tricky. So पांच questions थे, पांच में से पांच नहीं, चार नहीं, but तीन तो हो जाते थे, right? Then the fill in the blanks questions, which are based on vocabulary, right? They were quite easy. Sentence का context समझना था, right? So if you were able, if you had been able to understand the context of the sentence, then this was, I would say, a moderate set. So out of five, again, three questions could have been attempted over here as well, right? Now, coming to the most interesting part of the verbal ability section, which was parajumbles, right? So jahan pe you are given five or six sentences, and the questions were like, which is the first sentence, and which is the second sentence, and which is the third sentence. So yahan pe, instead of giving you see the options, ke jahan pe option wise you are given the sequence, right? What we had was you had to first arrange those six sentences, and then you had to identify ke first, second, third kaun sa hai. So looks threatening, but then on careful inspection, if you look at it really carefully, हर एक sentence में there were enough hints to indicate that this would be the first sentence, that would be the second sentence, and then the next would be third sentence, right? So it was just a matter of careful reading, and ये 5 मिनट में 5 question बहुत प्यार से निकल रहे थे. Then vocabulary, there was something called closed test, right? So closed test is that part wherein you have a paragraph, and paragraph ke andar fill in the blanks there. So what you have to do is you have to first read the paragraph, understand the context of the paragraph, and then put the words into it from the given options. So this was a big set. There were 10 questions, right? So I would say 10 में से 8 question या 7 question हो जाते, right? So no big task over here. So now if I talk about the overall verbal section, right, out of 50 questions, 30 questions I would say were easy, and all those 30 questions should have been attempted, right? 18 questions were moderate. Moderate में से 5-7 कर लेते, because this is the first EOM, I would say 5-7 कर लेते. अगर if this was the fifth EOM or the sixth EOM, I would say 10 कर लेते 18 में से, right? There were two difficult questions, right? No need to attempt those. Both of them were in reading comprehensions, right? So ideally, verbal में 30 minutes के अंदर, in the time frame of 30 minutes, you could have attempted around 35 to 37 questions. Given that there is no negative marking, कुछ लोगों ने 45 attempts तक भी खींचा होगा, right? But over here we are talking about genuine attempts. We are not talking about flukes. ठीक है? Chalo. Then we talk about the LR section. Now in LR section, what we had was out of 75 questions, 23 questions were based on verbal reasoning, and 52 questions were based on analytical reasoning. Okay? So we'll discuss about verbal reasoning part, and then Anshuman sir will take it forward from the analytical reasoning section, and we'll talk about the other sections and the overall cutoff and everything, right? So, so here we go. If we talk about verbal reasoning section, there were 5 questions on cause and effect, right? So cause and effect में कुछ नहीं है यार, 2 rules याद रखने हैं, बस वो 2 rule याद रख लो, ये 5 question प्यार से निकल जाते हैं, right? Statement and assumption, again, a set of easy questions, right? Now, one thing about MHCET is that it is a speed-based entrance exam. So difficult questions आना rare होता है. It is just about speed. You keep a speed and you keep your speed, and you'll be able to solve a good number of questions. So यहाँ पर भी ideal attempts would have been 5, right? Then syllogisms में 2 questions were easy, 2 were moderate. There were a couple of questions जहाँ पे 3 statements दिए हुए हैं, so that could have been challenging, right? So 4 में से 3 attempt कर लेते. Statement and course of action, यार इसमें से कोई question छोड़ने वाला नहीं था, right? There is one moderate question, but I would say कि वो कर लेते, ठीक है? So ideal items in this case could have been around 4, right? And finally, verbal reasoning में you had the critical reasoning section का part as well. Critical reasoning is something that could take time, right? You have to read the paragraphs and you have to read the options. So it could have been time consuming. So for those of you who are kind of quite good at analytical reasoning, uh, right, and quick at analytical reasoning, critical reasoning के दो assumption question easy थे वो कर लेते, बाकी में you should not have spent a lot of time, right? So that is it as far as as far as the verbal and verbal reasoning part is concerned, right? I request Anshuman sir to take it forward from here.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
So please make me co-host, sir, so that I can start. Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. So before starting this session, one thing that I would like to tell all of you, that this is the very first mock that you wrote. Now, why we are conducting these sessions, so that we can learn from our mistakes. We can see the pattern in which we are committing mistakes in all these mocks, and we can improve ourselves. So don't be too much judgmental about yourself, those who are watching right now and those who are going to watch later. So, but again, one thing is for sure, don't be judgmental. We tried our best to give you the idea about the paper, and we are going to write several set of papers. So this is just the first of them. Lots of learning is going to come on the way. So it's very important that we are learning from each session, and if possible, and as you all of you must be knowing that in after every mock of MSCET, we are going to conduct this analysis session. And in every session, I will like to add something with the learning perspective, so that you can apply that particular knowledge in the next mock. So in this particular first mock, as far as analysis is concerned, our more emphasis is on selection of question as well as rejection of questions. So this is something a very important art, especially for exam that is speed based. And this is the speed based exam. And we are going to emphasize on that selection part. So guys, in order to ensure that we are talking about the selection part, it's very important that we should know the structure of the question. Deepak sir already talked about the reasoning section, the verbal reasoning part, but again, overall, this was the picture. In this picture, apart from the verbal reasoning question, you can say that the mathematical operator based 5 easy questions were there, quite doable, and that too within the time limit. This is decision making was a little bit tricky. Again, series question. So there were 12 series questions in this particular test. That doesn't mean that in every test you should expect these. And in every test, we are going to make some changes so that you should be ready for all different situations that you may face in exam. So out of those 12 questions, certainly there are half of the questions were tricky. So you have to be very careful in that. Similarly, Silogs, Deepak already talked about coding, decoding, 10 questions, not easy, moderate level. Course of action, already Deepak talked about. Puzzles, again, surprisingly, it was easy in this paper, but we have seen that MSCT end up asking some difficult sets also. So be ready for that also in future. Arrangement based question is again 8 questions were there. Direction sense question, doable, quite doable. So this was the structure of the paper. So in this particular structure of the paper, what we do that we map the easy questions. So what is the easy map question? And this is what you have to do when you are writing the test. I know it is not that easy for you to map so easily, but yes, that is why we practice. And that is what practice is going to give us a mastery over all these skill sets. And skill sets can be developed through proper practice. So mathematical operator, those 5 questions were quite doable. Arrangement and puzzle, first set, that the 5 questions were there. That 6 lecture time. So that was again doable, easy. Input output, only 1 question was there, that was doable. Coding decoding, 2 questions were there, that was doable. Individual reasoning, 2 independent reasoning questions were there, that were doable. Again, direction sense, only 1 question was there, that was doable. And number series, 5 questions doable, but again with the condition that I would like to say, out of 12, 5 were doable, I'm saying, but again, a little bit of practice is required because sometimes they are a little bit tricky. And one more thing I would like to add here: whenever in number series question you are getting stuck for a long time, please leave it, because sometimes just because of human ego we end up wasting lots of time in solving the series question, and we end up not getting answer that. And this exam, MSCT, is not that type of exam, so that's a leave it if you are not able to find any particular logic behind the series. So guys, and apart from that, abstract reading question, although I should not be writing all 25 as a easy, but yes, most of out of these 25 will be considered easy, and especially not today, but again, when writing so many mocks, when practicing so many questions, certainly one thing I have seen that across years, that abstract reasoning, that is visual reasoning question, always been the easiest part as far as scoring is concerned. So out of 25 question, you can easily score 18, 19 questions. So it is something, that's why I consider it easy overall. Although there may be some questions that were difficult sets, but yes, overall I will consider it easy. Again, moderate. Arrangement and puzzle, second set, six questions were there. That set of three local company type. So again, that was moderate, a little bit time taking. So only when once you done all the easy question, then only it makes sense to go for this set. Then again, third set, again, that was also moderate. Only three questions were there. So less number of questions, little bit tricky. So you have to be careful. Arrangement and puzzle, set four, again, two questions, moderate level. So these were the moderate level questions. Again, at after an extent, we have to solve these questions also. We cannot be dependent on all on very easy questions. So there are some questions of moderate level also. Yes, certainly some moderate as well as time consuming questions like coding, decoding, those 10 questions of coding, decoding. Although coding, decoding is historically considered easy, but these are not easy questions. So again, I would consider it a little bit time consuming. And similarly, decision making, four questions is something you can say that this was also time tricky, less time consuming, tricky as well. So and just a little bit of lack of concentration, and it will lead to a mistake. So that's why I put in the third type. As far as difficult level is concerned, I don't think any question was difficult. Yes, moderate as well as time consuming is considered to be difficult in such exams. So this is what I have divided the paper. And one more thing, see, this is the difficult thing to do, to just put it in the criteria. This was easy, difficult and time consuming. Why? Because it always depends upon person to person. There are a few set of people who like certain topic, quite possible even the difficult question of a certain topic that person can find easy. So that's why you can always give me that leeway, that let's say some topic you find easy, so quite possible it's your favorite topic. So in that case, don't be judgmental कि सर ने तो बोला था difficult है, मेरे तो easy लग रहा है, सर ने बोला था easy है लेकिन मुझे difficult लग रहा है. Quite possible you haven't done the enough work in that particular topic. That's why you find it difficult. तो हल्का इधर उधर होगा तो उसमें आप धीरे धीरे समझ में आएगी. एंड वी आर गोइंग टू मीट इन आफ्टर एवरी मॉक, वी आर गोइंग टू मीट इन एनालिसिस. सो क्वाइट पॉसिबल विल स्टार्ट लर्निंग ईच अदर्स लैंग्वेज आल्सो. मुझे समझ में आ जाएगा कि सर क्या कहना क्या चाह रहे हैं. Again, expected attempt. What we have seen, that what I did, I mixed both the sets. Like again, LR plus abstract reasoning, because I consider total all of them are more or less reasoning. So that's why I have given you strategy on that basis. So as far as easy question is there, so in LR part 41, and that includes analytical listening plus verbal listening both, plus 25 questions of you can say that visual listening. So expected attempt out of 41, somewhere around 32 to 34. Yes, it was quite doable, achievable. Yes, lack of practice may be the one reason, but yes, give yourself some time. That's why I told you guys clearly, don't be judgmental about yourself, give yourself some time, and then later on you realize, oh, it was quite doable. And out of 25 question of visual listening, 16 to 19 is something I expected that this is going to be a good attempt. So in moderate level, there were 11 question moderate level. Since it is moderate level, and since we already invested lots of time in easy level, so we'll have less time also for these. So 4 to 6 is something I will suggest. Out of these 11 question, you could have done time consuming moderate, again 4 to 6 somewhere. Even if it is less, it is okay. 3 to 5 is also okay. Difficult level, rest all questions I consider difficult just because several reasons. So again, out of that, even if you're not solving one, I am perfectly fine with that. So out of this 75 plus 25, 100 question, even if you are solving 56 to 65 in 75 minutes, again, this 75 minute you can divide as per your convenience. Okay, let's say, sir, okay, in reasoning part, I end up taking 55 and again, visual reasoning, I took 20. I have seen also people, those who are very fast in visual reasoning, they end up solving visual reasoning in 50 and then the 60 minute they have given into a reasoning part and they end up cracking the paper. So it's up to you. That's why I mix both of them and accordingly you can manage time. ओके दोज ऑफ यू हु फील कि सर ये तो नहीं होगा 20 मिनट 15 मिनट में मेरे से कभी नहीं होगा 25 क्वेश्चंस और 18 क्वेश्चन और 19 और 20 क्वेश्चंस सो इन दैट केस क्वाइट पॉसिबल विद लिटिल बिट ऑफ प्रैक्टिस और रेगुलर प्रैक्टिस so you are certainly going to get you can say better comprehension about such type of visual reasoning question and then certainly you can decrease your time. Remain hopeful, yeah, that is very important. So this is about the reasoning part. Let's come to the QA part. Again, in QA part, you will see uh, time, speed, distance. Only one question was there. Again, numbers. There were 4-5 questions. Were there PNC 2 questions, probability 2 questions, circle 1 question, miscellaneous 3 different type of questions. Again, graph. Again, mixed graph question 5 was there. Data interpretation table and pie chart was 5. Data sufficiency 10 questions were there, and both 10 questions are 5 ka lot tha, and they are of different type. So that was something you can say first 5 questions were a little bit difficult. Next 5 were easy. Data interpretation line graph was 5 questions. Percentage questions were very doable. Not percentage. Bond mass was very doable 2 questions. And sorts and indices again 3 questions were there. So quite doable, and time and work 1 questions were there. So this is what the bifurcation. Now going further, let's say when I mapped easy, those sorts and indices 2 questions were very easy. Percentage 1 was easy. Bond mass very easy, as topic itself is very easy. And it question was also easy. 5 question in the table. Although the table seems lengthy one, but it was quite easy. It was most of the questions were observation based. So those I will consider easy. Again, pie chart was also easy, not that as easy as table, but yeah, it was also easy. And again, calculation based 4 question, purely calculation was there, whether it is percentage, calculate, bond mass सब mix करके. So 4 questions, those were very doable. तो यहाँ से number आना चाहिए. Data sufficiency, I will like to divide a 3 question out of 10 question you could have done. So 3 questions were easy, 2 number based and 1 both and stream based. There was one question of finding square root that was very easy, so very doable. So ये सारे easy questions थे. Moderate की बात करूँ, so line graph question 5 question that was of moderate level. PNC 2 question moderate, probability 3 question moderate, or some for some of you it may be difficult also. चलेगा. And again moderate and time consuming की बात करूँ, तो those percentage based case set was there. There were 4 questions. So again those 4 questions were time taking. Because पहले तो passes पढ़ो, समझो, then solve करो. So I would suggest, unless you love it, it was not something that I would have suggested you to solve. Yes, but yeah, percentage था तो कई बार दिमाग में लगता है percentage तो आसान होता है तो कर ही लेते हैं. तो you have to be careful कि whether you can do it within the stipulated time or not. That was very important. Data sufficiency, as I said, that 10 questions, so 3 questions were doable and 7 questions were a little bit difficult. So again, उसको नहीं भी करते या देख के उसमें depends कि तुम्हारा topic क्या, convenient topic क्या है. Let's say I'm very good in mensuration, I'm very good in profit and loss or percentage. So, but again, type was these 7 questions I consider difficult. तो आप अगर बाद में भी करते तो चलता है, नहीं भी करते तो. So again, expected attempt की बात करूँ, so easy 25. And 25, since all these exams, in order to crack these exams, it's very important that bang on you should get those easy questions. So out of 25, 20 to 22 is something I expected you to do. Moderate 12, out of 12, 7 to 9 was doable. And moderate time consuming out of 11, even 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 you have done, that is fine. Difficult, even if you have left them, it is perfectly fine. So out of 50 question, 32 to 37, and the time allocation should be somewhere around 45 minutes. I know, sir, 45 minutes में मेरे से 37 question कभी ना हो बेटा. Don't worry. We have seen this tendency in the past. We have seen people who end up finding कि सर मेरे से कैसे होगा, and then with practice they end up reaching there. So keep practicing. That is very important. Keep analyzing your paper. इसीलिए तो मैं बैठ के analysis कर रहा हूँ. And this is what I want you to do it. Because every person will have little bit difference in their analysis, and that is going to be very important for you in future. तो इसको analyze करते रहो. तो यहाँ पे 30 to 37 try and reach कि पहुंच सकते थे क्या. सर बोल रहे मेरे से कितना हुआ, मेरे से 27 हुआ, 5 और पहुंच सकता था क्या, पहुंच सकता था. You will find, then you will realize कि okay, I could have done it. ठीक है, थोड़ा होप आएगा, नेक्स्ट टाइम यू विल डू बेटर. ओवरऑल एक्सपेक्टेड स्कोर्स एंड परसेंटाइल, दिस इज अगेन लिटिल बिट ट्रिकी. अभी तो मैं फिर से रिपीट कर रहा हूँ, डोंट बी टू मच जजमेंटल, क्योंकि अभी आपका एग्जाम इज इन मिड ऑफ मार्च, सो वी स्टिल हैव लोड्स ऑफ टाइम, और अभी तो एग्जाम का डेट भी नहीं पता, तो आई कैन नॉट से एनीथिंग. दे आर येट टू कम विद द डेट, सो दैट्स व्हाई व्हाटएवर इज on the basis of the previous year data, if we can expect, even if it is in mid March, we have enough time to work on it. So एक्सपेक्टेड स्कोर और परसेंटाइल को लेके इतना सेंटिमेंटल नहीं होने का. और अगर मुझे पूरा डेटा देखा जाए, तो आई वुड कंसिडर समथिंग अराउंड 145 प्लस इज गोइंग टू बी 100 परसेंटाइल सर्टेनली, और गोइंग टू द टॉपर on the basis of this particular paper. With 119 कैसे आ सकता है? अगर even let's say you're attempting somewhere around 140 question with the accuracy of 85%, that is a good accuracy. Again, so you end up reaching 119 correct, since there is no negative marking, so 119 score. So 119 is the score. In 119, you can expect somewhere around 99.5 percentile. For getting something like 99.7 to be in safer zone, you have to be at 124. For certainly get the call from JPIM as the score like 135 for this paper was something a good score. And apart from that, there are few things. Let's say, sir, मेरा तो 125 ही हुआ, तो हमेशा ध्यान पे रखने का कि अगर मान लो 130 क्वेश्चन आई अटेम्प्टेड, 70 क्वेश्चन आई लेफ्ट, सो obviously negative marking is not there, so I would always suggest not while practicing. अभी अपने स्कोर को ऐड करके अपने स्कोर में मत बना लेना, बट दिस इज समथिंग ऑलवेज यू शुड बी डूइंग. 70 मार्क्स है, और अगर 5 मार्क, अगर मैं ABCD में से कोई भी अगर एक लेटर लेके आंसर ये मानता हूँ, तो 1/5 मेरे करेक्ट हो गए, सो इन दैट केस 14 मार्क्स आई कैन ऑलवेज ऐड. So even if let's say I score 119, and then out of plus 14 again if I am getting, so somewhere around it is going to increase my score with the 14 marks. So this is तुम्हारा certainly तुमको बहुत पास पहुंचा देगा. That is one thing. But again, it is too early to think about extra score and all those. But अभी तो I really want you to the focus. अभी सर मेरा स्कोर तो कितना आया ना, मेरा स्कोर तो 87 ही आया. चलेगा बेटा, कोई बात नहीं, 87 आया. So now idea is how to grow further. And 87 से 119 पहुंचने में ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लगता है. Yes, after that certainly hard work is required, and special and proper practice is required, and regular practice is required. वो चलता ही रहेगा, mocks by mock अपन improve करेंगे. And again, every mock, it also depends, the different numbers depend upon the difficulty level of mock. But yes, it's very important that you should enjoy this mock. Again, in after every mock, please analyze your mock. That is also very important. If you're not analyzing your mock, your learning is going to remain half, and quite possible less than that. So keep analyzing. Again, we are also going to analyze the paper for you. But again, this is our analysis. So the best analysis for a student is going to be your own analysis, and you're learning from the paper. This is something we analyze the paper, and we also want you to just go and solve the paper and get the exposure of different type of question. And please expect something different paper in next time, so that again some new challenges will come. With every mock, we are going to learn something new, we are going to add value to ourselves, and we'll keep adding value, and we end up reaching our destination. So guys, this is what I want to brief you about this particular exam. Deepak sir, anything you like to add?
No sir. One more thing sir, if you can suggest कि अभी मेरा quant इतना अच्छा नहीं है, so what is it that I should be revising?
सर अभी क्वांट अच्छा नहीं है, बुरा नहीं, पहले तो दिमाग से निकाल देना पड़ेगा. बट अगेन
सही बात है.
इसके क्वांट में आपको सारे टॉपिक्स अगर देखा जाए, अभी अगर मैंने देखा है कि ऑलमोस्ट बहुत सारे टॉपिक कवर हुए, क्वाइट पॉसिबल द नेक्स्ट मॉक इज गोइंग टू कवर डिफरेंट टॉपिक्स. तो इसमें आपको पहले तो दे नीड नॉट टू बी जजमेंटल अबाउट कि जिन टॉपिक्स के क्वेश्चन आए उन्हीं पे मैं फोकस करूं, अगले मॉक में कुछ और आ गया. मैं तो ये सजेस्ट करूंगा कि वट एवर इज देयर इन योर सिलेबस, जो सारे टॉपिक्स हैं उनको ना बेसिक लेवल पे, तुम्हारा एक्सरसाइज 1 एक्सरसाइज 2 के बीच का लेवल, that is what the level you are going to face. And so you should be more than confident. तुमने अगर एक्सरसाइज 2 ढंग से करके रखा है, तब तो तुम्हारे लिए you are going to play with the क्वेश्चन. हाँ, बट वहीं पे सिलेक्शन पे काम करिए, और साथ में कीप रिवाइजिंग, क्योंकि ऑल ऑफ human being we prone to forget things. So I know कि भूलते हैं. एक फॉर्मूला बुक भी रखो जहाँ बेसिक फॉर्मूलेस तुमको रिवाइज करते रहो, और डुएबल क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. तो इफ यू आर रेडी विद दैट, आई थिंक यू आर गोइंग टू क्रैक इट. सर मतलब मुझे नहीं लगता कि कोई चैलेंज है, और अपन है ना पीछे, इनको जगने काम तो करना ही पड़ेगा.
सही बात है सर. सो सेम वे अगर काइंड ऑफ वर्बल की भी बात करें सर, तो जैसे
हाँ
आप
सर.
The way you are saying कि quant में it is practice, practice, practice that is required. तो same way verbal में भी अभी one thing that you require, you हमें पता है कि 5 क्वेश्चन पैराजंबल के आने ही हैं, तो डेली 2 सेट या 3 सेट पैराजंबल के प्रैक्टिस कर लिए. हमें पता है कि 10 क्वेश्चन ग्रामर के आएंगे, राइट. सो ग्रामर का मॉड्यूल उठा लिया, कॉम्प्रहेंसिव ग्रामर का मॉड्यूल उठा लिया, चैप्टर वाइज एक्सरसाइजेस है वहां पे, वो प्यार से सॉल्व कर ली, राइट. दिन का एक चैप्टर उठा के सॉल्व करो. वी नो कि वोकैबुलरी के 10-15 क्वेश्चन आने वाले हैं. सो पिक अप योर वोकैबुलरी मॉड्यूल, रिवाइज 15 to 20 वर्ड्स ऑन द डेली बेसिस. एंड मेरे हिसाब से सर अगर इस तरह से रिविजन करेंगे तो मॉक 5 तक तो कोई एवरेज स्टूडेंट आराम से अभी 187 से 119 पहुंच ही जाएगा सर.
बिल्कुल सर, और इनके पास यह गाइस बी केयरफुल, तुम सबके इसमें टेक होम टेस्ट पेपर्स भी होंगे. सो टेक होम पेपर्स वेन एवर यू फील कि ओके सर मुझे कुछ और भी मॉक लिख के थोड़ा समझना है, डोंट वेस्ट योर टेक होम जस्ट फॉर द सेक ऑफ राइटिंग, डोंट राइट इट. तो टेक होम्स भी यू कैन यूटिलाइज टू फाइंड कि गैप कहाँ पे है, तो टेक होम्स को भी यूज करो. ऑलरेडी मेरे हिसाब से 4 टेक होम्स आर अपलोडेड.
अरे वाह.
तो सर
चलो.
उनके लिए मतलब बड़ा काम का चीज है फिर.
हाँ. ओके सर, सो हम लोग साइन ऑफ करें.
Thank you everybody. Thank you. So keep working. We'll meet next time with a more idea, more knowledge, and again new insights. Every time we like to add something so that at the end of the day, when we are going to write this paper in March, we are coming out with a flying colors. Thank you, Deepak sir.
ओके, थैंक यू सर.
Thank you.
थैंक यू everybody. बेस्ट ऑफ लक स्टूडेंट्स. चलो सर, बाय
Uh,
बाय.